Attention, everybody. The views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and supported ministries and or nonprofits. So now here he is, the man with the plan to put gold in your hand, Tony Hammock.
Good morning out there in Acts Ministry land. Hopefully everybody is well rested. I know I'm not, waiting for all these results to come in and everything. And boy, what a night. I mean, I don't know what everybody's thoughts are, and I guess I'm not really here to talk politics and stuff, but, you know, there's a part of me that feels very proud to be an American, and hopefully you agree that, we do have a system that, allows for folks to run for these offices, and, hopefully God's will be done, and we'll end up with the right person in place and stuff. But we're here to talk about alternative assets. Gold and silver usually is the top two that we talk about, and I do have some interesting things in store for today. I want to start with the ask price for gold. It's now $1,900.30, and the ask price for silver is $23.91. And remember, ask is just kind of a measuring point. That's the price that the mint would give, or excuse me, the mine would give the mint. So it's a price that you and I will never get, but it is a measuring stick, and from there they decide the different premiums and stuff. So, as far as what we can get the coins for and the bars and so forth. So, excuse me, both of those are looking good for the moment. There's a lot of speculation as far as the way the different markets will turn and stuff. In fact, let's go ahead and get into the stewardship course, because me, if you're a person who tunes in, week out, I like to get into the stewardship course early, because that's really kind of, I think, one of the main reasons I'm on the air here is that we're here to talk about, educating yourself, and, we're not giving advice. We're just basically trying to give you as much information as possible so that, you can do what's best for you and your family and so forth. So today's class from this current course, it says works. Keep in mind that good things must always be tied to the spiritual if they are to have an eternal impact. Nice things and good things by themselves aren't good enough. Non-Christians do good things. You don't have to be a disciple to be a great neighbor, to feed the homeless, build a hospital, or help people improve their job situation. Those are all good things, but only when good things are tied to God's glory do they become the good works we are called to do as believers in Christ, and that's Matthew 5:16. A good work is when God is attached to it. By bringing the gospel, discipleship, and the word of God into the good things you invest in, you have brought the spiritual into the physical realm. Doing good things for people when those good things do not involve their eternal destiny or eternal reward is simply doing good things for people. Feeding the poor, helping the homeless, visiting the sick, incarcerated, or homebound, these are all good. It's just that when they are done apart from an eternal view and eternal connection, their impact is only in the here and now. God wants you to do great and mighty works in His name in order to release people from the bonds of the creditor, the enemy himself. He's tasked you and me with this responsibility, and He's even given us authority to do it. It's about being faithful, which means being consistently dependable over time. Wow. Another good one here. And interesting, too, because, I think a lot of folks, probably myself included through the years, will do something like that, where we'll, help a homeless person or visit someone who's sick, or, whatever the situation may be. And, we think, oh, that was good of me. The scales of justice, I've put something on the good scale, so now I can possibly get away with something on the bad scale. I mean, I don't know, but, and to have this now come out and say it has to be tied to God to really be, a benefit. And I think that is a powerful message that we probably all can benefit from. I don't want to speak for you folks, but hopefully you agree that that would make a lot of sense, especially in a situation where our country seems to be so divided and the world is in such turmoil with this, COVID-19 crisis and some of the other things that are going out there in the world. Maybe to have more things tied to God would be a good thing. But anyway, let's look at some of the other stuff that's going on. One thing that I did want to point out, I was really excited about this. Here again, for those of you that tune in every week or every other week, I'm a big fan of the Sound Money wallet over at 7K Metals. And they're one of our sponsors, and I love the Sound Money wallet just because it's a incredibly easy way to buy and sell silver and gold. And when they first brought this out back in June, the first time I tried to move some money into it, it took like 11 days to get from my checking account over to the Sound Money wallet. And, that's a little long, especially if, you're seeing a big movement in gold or silver and you're trying to, take advantage of it. But on the 31st, I went to transfer some dollars in. I mean, nothing big, just $100 or so. And I noticed that it only took 3 days to actually be in my Sound Money wallet. So it's there now, waiting for me to decide if I want to just keep it in cash or if I want to put it in silver or if I want to put it in gold. And, of course, I'll do that when the time is right, in my opinion. But I thought that was pretty neat. We're down to 3 days, and you can move money into the Sound Money wallet 5 different ways. One is through an ACH draft from your checking or savings account. One is to actually show up in Idaho Falls, Idaho with $9,999 or less in cash, and you can make a deposit that way. Or you can wire either international or domestic. I think the wires do run $15 and get money into it. And then last but not least is you can send a cashier's check and make sure that you put your account number on there, and they'll make sure it gets into your Sound Money wallet. So it's an exciting product, and we probably need to be talking about it more on this show. But anyway, I thought I'd bring that out early because I did not want to forget it. We've got a lot of things going on out there in the world, and it was kind of funny. This morning, I had on my calendar that they're taking pictures at school, and our youngest, Luke, some of you have seen him on the show. He's 13, and he's doing all of his schooling right now remote. And so he needs to be at school somewhere between 8 and 11 to get his picture taken. And I got to tell you, I've never seen the kid move so fast, man. He went upstairs, he combed his hair, he put on some good clothes, and he's on his way to school to get his picture taken and a yearbook and all that kind of stuff, which, I texted my wife as I pulled in the parking lot here, is maybe that's an indication that he's really missing going to school. And, I don't know if things will ever get back to the way they were, but I think that, hopefully there's some version of that where, kids can go to school and not have the, threat of picking up a deadly virus or something like that and so forth. But anyway, I'm just rambling. Let me get into the pricing, which is a big part of our show. We like to kind of keep track of everything on a weekly basis. These broadcasts are on YouTube, so if you ever kind of want to check out what we're doing, you can go back to prior shows. But right now, as we speak, and by the way, we've been talking about cryptos more these last 3 weeks. But as we speak, Bitcoin is at $13,879.72 a piece. And it's up almost 1% for the day. It's made quite a move here of late. And that's why we've been talking about it a little bit more. I think in the month of October, it was up maybe 24% just in 1 month. And, with that said, the caveat being it's not for everybody. It's not for widows or orphans or, anybody that, can't tolerate the risk involved. I mean, it's a very volatile asset. And I would only encourage people to ever put any money in it that they could afford to lose. Because, I mean, let's face it, if it all of a sudden, got back to 3,000 like it was in March, and you bought in at, 13.8, you'd be a little disappointed, I think. So it's for the more aggressive type individuals and stuff. But it is becoming more and more mainstream each and every day. I mean, just last month we had PayPal say that they're going to make Bitcoin available to all their account holders throughout the world, and we had Square, the card processing company, that put 50 million of their corporate cash into Bitcoin. And I mean, there was a couple other major corporations that, made some moves from their cash account, which is earning, next to nothing, and moved it into Bitcoin and stuff. And anytime you've got a finite supply, which we do with Bitcoin, the most they can ever issue is like 21 million. And all of a sudden your demand increases. What's that do to the price? And if you've been watching from the very get-go, you know that with an increased demand, that's going to drive the price up. So we'll see what happens there. But speaking of prices, let's get back. Ethereum is $383.45. And let me see, where's Litecoin? There's Litecoin. Litecoin is $52.42 a coin. Those are the probably the three biggest as far as market cap and so forth. So interesting things going on there in the crypto world. As far as gold and silver, now these first few metals that I'm going to give prices for, these are what's called the precious metals, and these prices are by the ounce. And as of 9:13 this morning, gold, the ask was $1,904.60. It's down about $5 on the day. Silver is $24.13. Now these are per ounce, and that's down about 15 cents. Platinum is $878. It's flat. Palladium is $2,317 an ounce. It's down $1. And rhodium is $13,400, and it's up $500 an ounce. And it's obviously a very, very expensive precious metal. These next ones are the base metals. Base metals are priced by the pound. So, for example, copper is $3.06 a pound. Nickel is $6.94 a pound. Aluminum is 84 cents a pound. Zinc is $1.16. Lead is 82 cents. Uranium is $29.55. And a barrel of crude oil is $38.19. And then the market right now, as of 9:13 this morning, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, that is, it's up 1.5%. It's up 420.74 points, and it's currently resting at 27,900. Nasdaq's up 2.5%, and that's currently at 11,443. And the S&P 500 is up 1.5%. It's currently at 3,420. So we've just got a lot of volatility, and it's been like that for a while, and a lot of that's due to the uncertainty of what's going on. I'm sure as we work our way through the week and some of these other results are known, to see who actually gets to the 270 mark on those electoral votes, there'll be less uncertainty, and so some of the things in the market will probably simmer down a little bit. But anyway, those are some of the pricing things out there. I'm just scanning to see if there's any new headlines or anything here. It looked like when I last got a chance to see, the Senate was 47-47. The House was I think it was 188 to 181. That would be in favor of the blue, and so we'll find out here as the days go by. I know there's some people saying it may be as late as Friday before there is a final decision made as far as that goes and stuff. Anyway, let's see what else is going on out there. I noticed that my friend, oh, come on, turn on a little program. Egon von Greyers, who is from Matterhorn Asset Management over there in Switzerland, he has a new article out, and actually there's an interview with a gentleman named Matthew Piepenberg, and basically they discuss the available facts regarding the COVID data and viral impact on global economies, and as far as the large parts of the EU bracing for more lockdown measures. There's a little video that goes with it. And the reason this is kind of interesting is I don't know if I made a big deal of it a couple weeks ago when this first surfaced, but I probably should have. The IMF, which stands for International Monetary Fund, has called for a miracle solution on the worldwide financial situation. And that solution is they think we should have a second Bretton Woods. And if you're not familiar with what Bretton Woods was, it's Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. And back in the fall of 1944, as World War II was winding down, all of the major nations, basically your countries that are in the United Nations, got together in Bretton Woods and tried to hammer out a reserve currency for the world, and it ended up being the U.S. dollar, and that's what it's been from 1944 through today so far, and so that's what this IMF is suggesting that happens, is all those major countries get back together and just kind of hammer out some solutions, because there's just a lot of talk out there as far as a reset, just there's a lot of speculation as far as what it's going to take to really make things better. And part of that is, it's not just the U.S. We're 27 trillion. In fact, I'll give you an exact number here in just a second. We are $27,210,129,000,000. And then it's going so fast, it's, 985,000, so forth. The U.S. national debt is going up that fast. But it's not just us. Just about every country out there has a debt issue. And part of that's from the central banks that have just been printing paper or printing currency as fast as they can. That's pretty much what we did here in the States when back in the first part of the year, March, when the COVID-19 became, real obvious that we were going to have to deal with this and the damage and the impact it was going to have. And, before you knew it, there was another $3 trillion of U.S. dollars that had been printed. And that sounds well and good, it's like, oh, let's get this into the right people's hands and all this kind of stuff. But the bottom line is every time they print more money, more dollars, it makes the current dollars less valuable. It gets back to that supply and demand thing. If all of a sudden there's more supply, it's going to drive the price down. And so that's one of the reasons why gold and silver, have come back since March, is that, the dollar is very much tied to the ounce of gold. And the weaker the dollar gets, the more gold goes up, and the stronger the dollar gets, the more gold goes down. So another one of those inverse relationships that we've got out there. Anyway, I could ramble on and on as far as things like that go. The bottom line is there's a lot of issues worldwide financially, and there's a lot of folks that are trying to find, a way to take care of it and fix the issues and so forth. So more to come on that. As far as some of the things that are out there, I don't know if I mentioned it, but 2 weekends ago there was a coin conference or convention out there at the Expo Center in at the fairgrounds here in Greene County. And I went out there and kind of looked around and talked to a lot of people, and I ended up getting this book, which is the Guidebook of United States Coins by R.S. Yeoman, and it's the 74th edition. It's the 2021 one. And it cost me like $17 or something, but it's got everything you'd ever want to know, plus some in here as far as different coins. I mean, it's got $quarter, 2-cent pieces, small cents, large cents, contract issues and patterns, post-colonial issues, colonial issues, just everything you'd ever possibly want to know. And the reason why that I keep mentioning this in our shows is that a lot of times when you get into gold and silver, one of the convenient or easy ways to invest in gold and silver is through coins. And, you can get circulated coins, like if they're pre-1933 coins and they're circulated, there's some neat little features there, as far as being able to maintain your privacy. Those are considered semi-numismatic and in the Federal Reserve Code, and so therefore you can keep your privacy. So that's kind of a neat thing to know about those. But, I mean, when you get into coins, I think part of it is also coins are a lot more difficult to counterfeit. When you get into bars, if you're wanting to buy some bars of gold or bars of silver, you really need to be careful, especially like who am I buying them from, and make sure that they're authenticated and stuff like that, because there are unfortunately folks in the world that will try and pass off a counterfeit bar of silver or bar of gold, and then you're in trouble if you've paid hard-earned dollars to get that and stuff. So one of the neat things about where I'm going with this part of the show is that you've heard me talk about National Gold Consultants up there in Minnesota. Ryan Long is the president. We've had Ryan on the show several times, and I'm trying to get him back to Springfield somewhere in the first quarter. He's from Minnesota, so whatever our winter will be like, I'm sure he can handle it. But he now has a training program that is available for people who want to get into selling gold and silver, and it's like $199. I mean, if you're not into that, I wouldn't encourage you to look into it or sign up for it. But I asked Brian the other day. I said, should I go through that? I mean, I've been kind of keeping up with all this stuff, and he goes, there might be one or two things in there. So I was going through it yesterday, and there are one or two things in there. I mean, that counterfeiting part of it right there. I mean, he was talking about, some different forms of counterfeiting he's found over the years in silver bars, like a 100-gram bar or something like that. And so far, I'm very much in favor of that. The other thing he also has now is E&O insurance, which stands for errors and omission insurance. That is available for folks that want to offer gold and silver. And that's huge because most E&Os don't cover metals. They cover insurance products, or they cover insurance products and securities, all these different things, options, commodities, and so forth and so on. But there's now a E&O program for metals, which is kind of nice. I mean, that way, if anybody did, I guess, run into a counterfeit or something, at least there'd be some errors and omission insurance to back that up. And so if you are dealing with folks on gold and silver, you might start asking them if they have E&O insurance and see if they can send you a copy of their E&O policy, which should be easy enough to do if they have it. I mean, I have E&O insurance on everything that I do, and every once in a while, once in a blue moon, I have somebody that wants to see it, so I scan it in my computer and email it to them, and they can look and they can see how many millions of dollars that my insurance would cover and all this kind of stuff. And pretty much anybody in financial services should have E&O insurance. If you run across somebody who's proclaiming that they're a financial advisor and they don't have E&O insurance, you might want to run and run far, because that's probably not a person you want to deal a lot with as far as any thing they could recommend for your financial picture and stuff. Let me see what else is going on with that. E&O insurance. He does have a Monday call every Monday at 3 o'clock that for folks there again that want to get into the business. And what's neat about the business is it does not require a license per se. So, I mean, it is designed for registered investment advisors and insurance agents and registered reps and things like that, broker dealers. But, I mean, a person could, get in and get involved, get their E&O insurance, go through the training, and basically, get into the gold and silver industry. And, Ryan is an excellent mentor. And I know he's taught me a number of things over the last couple of years and so forth. So if you're interested in anything that I ever mention on the show, and especially something like that, give me a shout at 417-755-0700 or give me an email at tony@thegoldaffiliate.com. And I will, get you what you need as far as details and websites and so forth and so on, so you can kind of look into that and do your due diligence and decide if it's something you want to do. But I was really tickled because I can't tell you how many times National Gold Consultants has helped out one of my clients, my wife included, which leads me to one of the things I brought for the show today. I think I mentioned this the other day, but I can't remember. There's so many things that happen, anymore, day in, day out. But, we, last year, Lorna was able to change companies, and in doing so, she had a small 401k rollover. And, we contacted Ryan, and we put that into silver. And when I looked at the portfolio, I noticed that it was all Canadian maple leafs. And, when you deal with somebody, you figure they know what they're doing. So I didn't really question Ryan and stuff like that. But, I found out at that coins convention here a couple weeks ago, I bumped into a gentleman from Tulsa, and we were talking. And I said something about the maple leaf. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, that's the good one." And I was like, "I thought they were all good." And he goes, "Well, no, it's 4 9s." And I'm like, 4 9s? What are you talking about? And sure enough, printed on this coin, I've got here 4 Canadian maple leafs. And up here in the corner, I know that's impossible for you to see with our current video and everything like that, but up in the corner, printed on the coin, is 9999, which stands for the purity of the silver involved. Now, the reason why that's important is the American Eagle, which is a wonderful, silver coin, is 3 9s. So, if you want to be a real stickler for details, the maple leaf not only is more pure, but has a lower premium. In other words, in any given day, if you're looking at a Canadian silver maple leaf versus a Silver Eagle from the U.S. Mint, the Silver Eagle will be more expensive, even though it's still 1 ounce of silver. And part of that is because the purity and so forth. But the neat thing about it is if you're making a major investment, the maple leaf will get more of your dollars actually into silver because there's less of a premium. And per coin, it's probably, a few cents. Maybe $1, that type of thing. But it's still something to be aware of and stuff. And there's little things like that you can benefit from by, dealing with someone like myself and or, the relationship I've got with Ryan Long up there at National Gold Consultants and or the relationship we've got with 7K Metals. We've kind of settled on those two for different parts of the market. The National Gold Consultants is another sponsor, and, they're very, very good with folks that have, net worths that are substantial. They've got some of the tax strategies involved and so forth. Whereas 7K Metals also has those same strategies, but, they're really designed for somebody who may be starting from scratch and, need to accumulate gold and silver on a, coin a month type of deal, which is fine. I've done that before. And what's interesting is you get a year down the road and you start looking at, 12 or 14 coins or however many, and then you start going to NGC, which is NGC would be the rating agency, not National Gold Consultants, but there's a rating agency called NGC, and looking at what that coin is worth, and all of a sudden you realize, holy cow, I just put X amount of dollars in. I have 12 or 14 coins to show for it. They're pure silver, and they're now worth this, and it's more than what you paid for them, which I think is the way to go. You'd kind of prefer that, wouldn't you? Excuse me. But anyway, 4 silver Maple Leafs, the 4 Niners. I think it's ironic maybe that I got 4 in that one transaction. But I'm going to hang on to these for some time just because, one, I like showing them off. And don't be waiting in the parking lot for me. But, I mean, if you think about it, with the price of silver right now, I mean, those 4 are approximately about $100, just give or take $1. But, I mean, that's just in case you ever need them. And obviously, if you had to cash out, you could do so. And, they're obviously recognized worldwide. The other ones I kind of like here lately are the ones from Australia, from the Perth Mint. And those, too, have some significant benefits. Now, the other one I brought along today, I think just because it was in the same container, is right about the same time in July that I got those. I got this Wiener Philharmoniker silver coin. And, I wish we had better graphics and stuff because you could see the intricate design on here. I mean, it looks like there's like a whole orchestra, as far as instruments on here with their design and stuff. But now this one it's an ounce of silver. It does not say if it's 3 nines or 4 nines. I'm going to assume it's 3 nines. It's worth, let me see, what is it, €1.50, I think, back on the back here. But the bottom line is it's an ounce of silver. So worldwide, if you needed to cash this in, not only could you get the ounce of silver value, but if you went to the right person, like myself or Ryan and stuff like that, you'd also probably get the premium, which is another thing I should mention in closing on these 2 sponsors. Both companies have buyback programs. I mean, 7K, if you buy something like this, literally as you're making the transaction, they will tell you what the buyback is. And it's, guaranteed. So if you get down the road a year or whatever and you decide you no longer want those coins, you have that on your receipt and you can go in and sell it back to 7K. And the same holds true for Ryan, mainly in those pre-33 coins, because I'll tell you what's happening is there's a shortage. And this gentleman I was talking to a couple weeks ago at the fairgrounds, he brought up that because that's how I started the conversation. As I said, what do you know about the pre-33 coins? And he goes, oh, yeah, they're tough to get. And so when I was talking to Ryan day before yesterday, we were talking about the shortage. And he was like, yeah, I mean, I could still handle, somebody that came in with, a couple 100,000 and wanted to put them in pre-33 coins and stuff, but it's not like it was at the beginning of the year where, there was just ample supply. And that's because they've been gradually getting snatched up. I mean, people are aware of their benefits and they go into them. And the other thing that happens with the pre-33 coins is they go up more so as the supply gets in this kind of a situation. So you've got a couple things going on. You got the price of silver or gold, depending on which kind you have. You have the premium because of the value of their collectability, so to speak. But then you've got this supply and demand feature in there. And as the demand increases and the supply goes down, bam, here we are again. You see the price go up ever more so. I mean, he was talking about how back in, I think it was 2011, I want to say, the spot price for silver got up to, I want to say like $50. And don't hold me to the month. I mean, I may be off a month here. I probably should have had this, written down before I even brought it up, but I think I'm close enough. So when the spot for silver was like 50, a pre-33 silver coin was going for about $84. So think about that. That's a $34 premium because everybody wanted them and there weren't any to be found. So they just keep, ratcheting up. And then, of course, as the spot came down over the next couple of years and stuff, the price also came down on the coins. You'll find that. So, little things like that are good to know. Kind of like little things like that are good to know, which is we really don't want any of you to, find yourself ever making that $1.2 million mistake. And I know that some of you that tune in all the time, you've heard us say this. By the way, if you remember Asa from the summer, Asa was home. He came in Monday night, had dinner with us, and we crashed, and then he got up early. And you know what? I take it back. He got in Monday afternoon, and he went to the polling booth that was up there at 1126 North Boonville, and he went ahead and voted Monday afternoon. Came by, had dinner, stayed the night, and then got up Tuesday morning and drove back to Tulsa. But, I would always have him kind of do this part of the show, which is, if you looked at the American Silver Eagle program, it was started back in 1986 by Ronald Reagan. And if you had known then what you know now, you would have probably started buying one Silver Eagle a month, every month, through Sunday, November 1st, you'd have got another one. And right now you'd have probably about 416 or 17 coins. And your total all-in cost would probably be around 43 grand. Keep in mind, that's over, 30 some years, almost 40, I guess. Those coins, yes, they would have cost you that much, a little bit each month, but their value right now would be over 1.2 million. And, that's significant. And the interesting thing about it is that each and every year has a different price. Now, keep in mind when I'm saying this, because I got into a little bit of an argument with one of the guys at that coin shop or coin store or coin conference, because I was asking about this, and I brought up the 1996 ones, and I said, yeah, the 1996 ones are over $6,000 now. And he goes, no, they're not. I said, yeah, they are. I mean, I'd gone and looked for them and so forth, and he had a little binder, and he kind of gets in there and starts looking it up and stuff. And sure enough, he's looking at one column, and they weren't $6,000. They were like a couple $100. And I'm looking and I can see the columns because it was kind of a spreadsheet. And he was looking at just, regular circulated coins. And over on the far right column was the MS-70 column. And that's what we're talking about is MS-70, Mint State 70. That's the highest rating you can have. And sure enough, in that column, a 1996 Silver Eagle was over $6,000. The 1999 ones were over 19 grand, MS-70. So when you hear me quoting some of these prices, for the most part, I'm going to be talking MS-70. And that's what gets back to this 1.2 million. Like, for example, the 99 ones are over 19 grand. The 96s are over 6 grand. The 2012 MS-70s right now are about $150 a piece. And so, we don't know which ones are going to do that. The $19,000 and the $6,000 respectively. So that's why, it's kind of like, let's just do this one at a month, one at a time each month, because, that way you don't miss one. And that way you kind of do this dollar cost averaging that we've talked about several times on the show, is if you're going to be moving into an asset, why not do it in a way that's going to allow you to, not damage yourself if the price is way high, but then when the price is low, take advantage of it. It's almost like a forced buy low, sell high concept in a way, because, as you're doing the dollar cost averaging, when we get into some of the portfolio ideas we've shared, we've talked about a rebalancing concept. So anyway, those are just some of the things that are out there. I brought a couple other things that I thought would be interesting to talk about on the show. There we go. One is, Why do we invest it all? And I know that some of you are like, to make money. Well, yeah, but it's also to outpace inflation. And one of the things that came up in the training class yesterday was that, ever since they've started monitoring inflation, which is back in the early 1980s, the formula of what they're actually monitoring has changed 4 different times. So, for example, maybe originally they were looking at gas for your car and, milk for the kids and heat for the house and, medical expenses and all these different things and stuff that would make sense. But for whatever reason over the years, they have changed the formula. And so you can go to shadowstats.com. The chart I'm looking at here was published July 11th of 2019. And, you'll notice there's 2 lines on that. Well, the top line is the blue line, and it is actually the one that is still the original formula of what needs to be monitored. Excuse me, monitored. And you can see that there's a substantial difference. For example, in 2000 and it looks like about 9, we had inflation running about 13%, whereas what they were announcing was closer to like 5%. And like right now, 2019, it looks like our inflation with the old formula was a little bit just less than 10%, whereas the one they were announcing out with the new formula was about 2%. Now let's think about this for a second. Let me throw this out as a question. Why do you think the U.S. government does that? Could it be all the COLA adjustments that go into Social Security and a lot of other benefits that are paid out on a month-in, month-out basis? So in other words, if they were still using the original formula and then it came time to adjust everybody's Social Security payment and they had to bump the prices up, by 10% or higher, which would be the true inflation mark, what does that do to our already, desperate budget as a country? So with these new formulas that have come up, and 4 times they've changed it, they're able to keep it closer to this 2% level that the Federal Reserve would like to keep it at. So just interesting things to think about. The other one is, the degradation of the dollar. And, we've talked about this ad nauseum as far as one of the things on this program. But, if you go back to 1913 when they created the Federal Reserve, a dollar was a dollar. So if you had a dollar, it was worth 100 cents, and it would get you a dollar's worth of merchandise or a dollar's worth of product. Now, all these years later, we're looking at a situation where a dollar has about 2 cents left of its purchasing value or purchasing power, excuse me. And so, it's not necessarily that the dollar has gone down on its own. It's more so that, with the printing of the extra dollars through the years and then the deficits and so forth is what's having the impact on the purchasing power of the dollar, as compared to gold. Gold has pretty much stayed the same. For example, in 1913, if you had an ounce of gold, it's probably buying you about the same amount of stuff this year as it was back then. So, there's one person out there that likes to say, okay, back in the 1800s, I could have taken an ounce of gold and I could have bought, a suit of clothes, and I could have taken my wife out to the, Broadway, and then we could have gone to a fancy dinner and had drinks and so forth. And, think about it. Today, if you had an ounce of gold, that's about $1,900. You could probably do the same. Think about it. A suit of clothes is going to run you more, obviously. But, if you got some nice clothes for you and your wife, and then you guys went to Broadway, which right now I think Broadway's closed, but if it was open, and so went to a nice dinner and all this kind of stuff, it's going to run you about $1,900, just like the same value all those years ago. So I think that's one of those things you kind of want to keep in mind as far as why do I want to add gold and silver to my portfolio. And the other things we talked about last week that I'll just kind of mention somewhat in closing, because I can see the clock and we're just a few minutes out from being done here, is interest rates have pretty much stayed the same from what I can tell. On these tax-deferred annuities, a 3-year rate is still 2.4, a 4-year rate is 2.4, a 5-year rate is 3.05, a 6-year rate is 2.8, and the 7-year rate is 2.95, 8 years is 2.5, 9 is 2.45, and 10 is 3%. And so you can kind of see that we don't have a normal yield curve. A yield curve would be, if you started here at the 3-year and you were getting 2.4, if it was going the right way, you would see it kind of gradually go up to where you got to the 10-year. And in our case, we start at the 3-year and we go up to the 5-year, and then we come back down, and then we go back up to the 10-year. So it's kind of a wonky yield curve. And if you ever need help with investments like that, give me a shout, 417-755-0700, and I'd be happy to get you more information. If you have an agent you already deal with and are looking for, what they call a multi-year guaranteed annuity, you might ask them, as far as, if they have them available and so forth. Another strategy that people use in this area is called laddering. And laddering is kind of interesting because, kind of like with the $1.2 million mistake, we never know which year or which month it's going to appreciate the most. With laddering, what you do is, let's say you had $100,000 and you were like looking at these 7 different maturities or 8 different maturities and trying to decide, well, which one do I go with? Well, a smart strategy might be to take and put, let's say 20% in the 10-year and 20% in the 8-year and 20% in the 6-year and then another 20% in the 5-year and then another 20% in the 3-year. So basically you've got 5 different holdings, each have different maturities, so that as that 3-year one comes up for renewal, depending on what interest rates do in the next 36 months, if they've gone sky high, you can take advantage of them. If they've gone straight down and now we're in, negative territory, you haven't compromised the other 80% of your portfolio. And we can get into advanced strategies and stuff, at some other point and stuff. But I got the sign from Matt, our trusty producer and station manager, and I think we're out of time. I hope you all stay safe, wear your mask, follow the rules, and be vigilant. Hopefully by Friday or by the next time we have this show, we'll know the outcome of the election, and we can talk about that then. And other than that, be safe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.